Hello and welcome to ServiceNerd, the channel for all your ServiceNow nerdery. In today's video, we're going to look at how we can create an issue ticket in Jira using a REST integration from ServiceNow. So today we're going to create a issue ticket in Jira. That's the type of the ticket they call it in Jira, and then you give it a kind of a subtype like a bug or a story, and we'll probably create a story. But we're going to create a thing in Jira, right? And we're going to use ServiceNow REST to do it. But I want to clear something up before we go any further. Anyone that's watched my channels or seen previous videos will know that I'm an advocate of Flow Designer. I love Flow Designer, love Integration Hub. In fact, I did a video, if you haven't seen it yet, is where I race against the clock how quick I can do a REST call out using Integration Hub and Flow Designer. But today, we're not going to do that. We're not going to use Integration Hub. We're not going to use Flow Designer. So if you've come here thinking, awesome, I'll get to learn what what a spoke is or how to use Integration Hub, this ain't the video for you. Go and watch another one, right? And I'll put a link up to the one I've done before. What we're going to do today is we're going to kind of use old school methods. I'm going to call it old school, right? But where we're going to declare the outbound REST, and then we're going to use that probably in a business rule, like an on-update business rule. But what I'd say, stick around to the end, because we'll look at how we can move that functionality from a business rule to something perhaps a bit more scalable, like a script include, so we can reuse it. Okay, let's get started. So in our scenario that we're doing today, we're going to start off in incident in ServiceNow, where we've got an incident that comes in and we need to send that off to Jira, and we want the number of the thing that we create in Jira to be stored in our ticket on ServiceNow, in this case our incident. So there's a couple of elements to set up and we're going to step through them, but first of all what we're going to do is we're going to set up our incident form. And we're going to keep it really simple, right? You can expand on this and make it a bit more, I guess, scalable or fit in your platform architecture. But what we're going to do today is I'm just on incident and I'm going to create a new section. I'm going to call it Jira. Is that a good name for it? Probably not, right? But it's quick and easy. So I might do things quick and easy, but I'm not I'm not completely messy, so I am going to put some form sections, some splits in. Okay, and what we're also going to use, we're going to do some splits so it looks a bit nicer. But we're also going to use correlation ID and correlation display. And let's discuss the difference between them. Let me just put them to there and the ID in there. So that's nice. Right, so we've got, these are out the box fields. This is the beauty of this. So let's go to our section. Correlation display, correlation ID. Out of the box fields, what do we use them for? Correlation display is where we do some type of e-bonding activity. So consider between incident and incident, perhaps on another ServiceNow platform, or even Jira, for example. So where we do some kind of e-bonding activity and we want to capture the correlation display, so the display ID of the ticket that we've created or we're interacting with on the other system. So if it was a ServiceNow instance that we're e-bonding with, correlation display would be the number. All right, so that's the correlation display. If we were interacting, or sorry, I keep saying interacting, I guess it is, but if we're e-bonding with another ServiceNow instance, if the correlation display is the number, what do you think the correlation ID might be? Well, that would be the sys-ID. Okay, so arguably, do we need this on the form? Perhaps not, but we're going to have it just for display purposes. So in our instance, in our test instance now, in our demo, we're going to keep the Jira ticket correlation display, and the correlation ID will be their unique ID. Now you can relabel these, right? So you could do a dictionary override and relabel them on the incident record. So we could say third-party reference, third-party ID. So we could do that if you wanted to. We're not going to. I'm going to keep it quick. And I'm already concerned that I'm waffling a bit, but we've now set up our form so we can capture the return from Jira. Right, now what we need to do is we go over to Jira. So let me just show you a little bit of this. So if you want to play around with this, you can do. You can get yourself a free Jira account. I'll put a link in the description. You can sign up, get a free Jira account and you can set up a project. So for this, I've set up a project. I've called it ServiceNow JIRA Demo. And at the minute, our project has nothing in. Okay, it's got no other users. It's got nothing in, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to interact with this project, which is called ServiceNow JIRA Demo, and the ID of the project is SJD, and that's important to note, okay? Okay, so now we've seen that, what we need to do is head back on over to ServiceNow and create our outbound REST call, right? So what we're going to do is head back over here. We're going to go to REST, not iREST. iREST? I do REST. But we're going to hit REST message. So it's an outbound REST message. Okay, so that's what we're going to hit. Remember, we're not using Flow Designer. We're not using Integration Hub. Sorry, but we're not. Right? So this would be useful for, I know that's kind of where ServiceNow are taking the tool. That's what they want us to do. And it's all very well, but people still use this method. If you're new to the game and just using Flow Designer, this will be useful because you'll know and understand how it works in order to debug, right? So we're going to call this Jira. So we've got our record here. So we're going to call this Jira. We can give it a description. We probably should. If we were doing things by the book, we might have created our own app and contain this within an app, but we're not going to. We're going to be mavericks. We're going to live on the edge. We're not going to do it. And then we need to put in an endpoint. So this is the endpoint that we need to hit. This is the URL that we need to hit for Jira. Okay. So how do we find that? How do we know what it is? Am I just going to guess it? Is it just test? I don't know. What you can do is head on over to this page. Again, freely available. I'll put some in the comments, but this is really great. Jira do give us some really good examples. So this is all we're doing. We're just stealing an example, right? It tells you all about the APIs they've got. And it tells you what the body of the message we need to send is, what the URL is. So if we scroll down here, we should be able to find, create a subtask, create an issue with custom fields. We're not using custom fields, but we're still using create an issue. So we can see here, right? This is our endpoint that we're going to hit, minus the local host and everything. Okay. So let me just go back to ServiceNow. In the interest of time, I have already got my endpoint, so I'm going to bang that in there. Okay, so let's just take a look at that. So when I signed up for a free Jira account, I was able to specify what I wanted my site to be called, and obviously I went for ServiceNerd. So you would exchange that for whatever site that you guys set up, but this bit will remain the same. So we're just going to create this. And when we've done that, what we'll see is we've got our REST message record that we created a minute ago, but it also creates a REST or a HTTP method record as well. Okay, and you can create many of these for the different, you know, if you were doing an integration to Jira and perhaps you wanted to get the list of projects and then you wanted to post an issue to those projects. You could contain everything within this Jira message record, I guess, and then link the HTTP methods to it. So what it's done is it's created this record here. So I'm just going to go into that. So in this case, what we're doing is we're creating something on Jira, right? So we're not getting anything back. So we need to change this. So it's going to call it default get, but we'll call it create issue. Okay, and that is a post because we're creating something on the other side. How do I know that? I go back to my examples. It tells me. Okay, post. Here we go. Yeah. So we come back over here. Now we need to know what we need to put in our REST message. So there's going to be a body in the REST message of stuff we need to send over, but there's things like headers and how do we authenticate could be considered as well. So for authentication in this example, we're going to use basic, right? So we click down here, we click basic, and we're going to need to set up a profile. So we'll go click here. There is none at the minute. And we're going to need to give it a name. So I'm just going to give it ServiceNerd. And the username is the account in which you use to set up the Jira demo in, or if you're using it on your instance, then it's If this is live in production in your company, then perhaps it's the administration account or a service account you've created for this purpose. But we're going to use username is my email address for this one. And the password is not my email password. It's not even the password I used for Jira when I set it up. It's an API token. So how did I know that, right? Well, quite simply, you used to be able to use a password, but that's deprecated, and they're getting us to use API tokens now. I found it in the documentation that I've already shown you. So what we need to do now, I'm going to leave that on the screen, is go and get an API token. How do we do that? Well, we quite simply go to this link, cue elevator music. Okay, here we go. So API tokens. And what we do is we create an API token. So we're going to give it a label, call it ServiceNerd Jira Demo. We'll click create. And it gives us a kind of a funky password or a token, right? So I'm just going to, that was too quick. Right, let's do that again. Right, okay. Bad things do happen. Right, so we've just revoked it. ServiceNerd. What do we call it? Jira Demo. That's great. Right, let's be careful this time. Here we go. Right. Got it. Copy. Yes. Right, okay, there we go. We go back to ServiceNow. Go back onto the profile. Oh, here we go. And we put that in the password. Submit. Okie dokie. Right, I'm just going to say that just to be sure. Now we're using this authentication for this particular method, so post, right? Just to point out that what we can do is we can inherit from parent. So the parent authentication method would be the step up. So that's our original Jira message. You remember that record we created? So we can stick authentication on the parent level and then have all our methods using the same the same authentication, the same service account perhaps. Okay, that's just something worth bearing in mind. So we've done authentication. We've got our kind of method there, post. What else do we need to do? We perhaps need to put in some headers. So how do I know what headers to include? Well, again, I'm using the examples here, the REST API examples. So I know from that, and again, you can read all this if you like to, if you want to. I know that I need to put in a content type. So let's just, I'm going to make it easy. Content type. Okay. And application JSON. And the content type is application JSON. So that is, that's basically saying, what am I sending in the body? What's the type of message I'm sending? In this case, it's going to be a JSON message. You may be asking, where am I copying and pasting this from? Quite simply a notepad. I've just written it down so it's easier. So I've got more time to bore you with a bit of waffle instead of you watching me type stuff, right? That's the plan. So we've done our header. Do we need any more? No, we're going to keep it simple. You might have an accept. So we could put an accept header and then application JSON as well. That's another one that we see quite a lot. But we don't need to in this case. Content, so this is the body. So content that we put in a put or a post request. So the content is, let's put in a test. And again, okay, that is the content. Where have I got that from? The answer is still the same. I'm getting it from the examples here. Okay. Okay, so the project is called SJD. That's the ID. Do you remember I said SJD up there? Note that earlier on. So that's the project we're sending it into. A summary. This is, I guess, like your short description in Jira. REST test. Description, again, is your kind of what's it about. And your issue type. So this is in Jira, they've got different issue types. So the main thing, so think of issue type equivalent in ServiceNow would be task. And the type of the record in Jira is an issue. In ServiceNow equivalent, that is task. In Jira, they have issue types. They would be things like incident, change, problem in ServiceNow world. In this case, in Jira, they're things like story, bug, enhancements. Okay, hope you get the idea. You don't really need to know, but it's just a different way of how Jira categorize stuff, right? Purpose of this, we're just sending in a story. Okay, so our incident in ServiceNow is going to create a story in Jira. Okay, and that's the body, that's the structure. I've stole it from that REST example. So we can save that and we can test it. This is a really cool feature. So this allows us to create or at least test the REST message and create the issue in Jira. And here we go. If you look at this, this is what we've sent over to Jira. This is the endpoint 201. That's what we're looking for. And this is the response we're getting back. So we know something has been created. So we skip back over to the Jira board. We refresh. And now we can... now we can see we've got something on our board. Okay. Now that's all well and good. So what have we done there? We've created a REST message record. We've created a HTTP method board. Let me go back. Record, sorry. And we've triggered that off. We've tested it. Wow, that's awesome. But now we're thinking, well, hang on, we're testing this with predefined hard-coded content, right? Because I've hard-coded in that. And if you've seen videos on this before around YouTube, and I have, and it frustrated me at the time that this is great, wow, we can send stuff out. But it never took it a step further that said, well, hang on, how do you make that dynamic? How do you use the summary of the incident itself or the description of the incident itself? So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to add in what we're going to call variable substitutions. Okay. So what we can do is we put in curly braces. Before the curly brace, we need a $sign, and then we need to give it a variable name. So we're going to make this short description because that is going to be the short description field. We're going to do the same with description as well. So let's get rid of that. Curly braces. Make sure they're curly braces. $sign at the start. I'm going to call that desk. Now what we could do, so this is anything that's in that body that's variable that we may want to change from message to message. Again, we could change the key because it may be a different project ID depending on I don't know, the category of the incident perhaps. Or it may be a different story, or sorry, a different issue type depending on the category. So we could make those dynamic as well. Okay, and then we need some kind of ServiceNow business logic which helps us get that information. But for now, we're going to keep it really short and simple. And we're going to go short description and description. So let's just save that. Okay, so now we've added those. What we're going to do is we're going to hit this auto generate variables button at the bottom. And ServiceNow is really good at this. They're really good at helping us out. So if we hit that, what that's done is that's now created 2 variable substitution records. And essentially what that's telling us is we've got, if we take short description there, that maps to this up here. So if we wanted to test this again using the test feature there, we could add in a test value. Right, so we could put in whatever we like here, and that would be the short description. So we know that we're now taking a step further from where we were before, and that was hard coding in the body. Does that make sense? So we were hard coding the body. Now we put in a variable substitution. We've now got specific records for that. We can now change the test values by configuration at the bottom here. The step after that is we're going to click preview script usage. Now ServiceNow is really good at this. Okay, he's giving us some examples of how we might use the feature that we've just created. So I know this isn't a flow designer video and it's not an integration hub video, but on those I've talked about how it's very good at things like testing, seeing the execution records. It's awesome at giving us code snippets. I recently did a video of how you can trigger a flow or a subflow even from a script, and that gives us a code snippet when you click on the relevant action within the subflow. Before Flow Designer happened, ServiceNow was doing this. This was here before, right? So I just want to point out that this isn't new. ServiceNow hasn't come along and said, right, let's start helping people. They've always done it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this code snippet and we're going to head over create a business rule. Okay, business rule. So let's go into here. I hope I've copied that. We'll create a new business rule. And we're going to do on update business rule just to make it really easy. Okay. Lots of elevator music for this video, isn't there? Right, okay, Jira demo. And you remember the table that we were on? That was incident. I have clicked it, trust me. There we go. ServiceNow needs to do something about the speed of PDIs, I think. Or I need to slow down my typing, maybe. I'm going to go advanced. Before, it doesn't need to be a before insert, we'll have it after. Okay, we could even do async. Again, I've done another video on the different whens of a business rule, so we'll go after update, and we'll go advanced. So we're not going to put any conditions in because we just want it to trigger, so we're just showing this. So now what we can do is copy, that's it, copy, paste our code snippet, and we'll just open it up, and I'm just going to do that. So now what we can do is remove all the stuff we might not want to use. So let's just make it clean. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So let's just take a look. So in this, what ServiceNow is doing is it's given us the code. So we know we're declaring R is equal to the REST message, or specifically the method that we created, create issue. And here's our variable substitutes, look. So you remember we did one for short description and description, and that's kind of creating the body of our REST message that we want to send out. Once we sent that, we're now getting these back. So we're getting the response, we're getting the body of the response that comes back, and we're getting the status code as well. Okay. So what we need to do is make description equal to something. So we could just simply say current.getValue is description. Okay. So description is equal to description. Ooh, I'm not sure whether we've got one on the incident. Maybe we need to put one on. And short description is equal to short description. Okay. So we can save that. Let's give it a save. We can give it a go. Should we do it? Let's do it. So now if we head over to incident, and we'll create a new, no, we're not going to create a new. We'll just use something that's already there. We'll use this one. Something from David Miller. Why not? So we're unable to access folder, unable to provide some, yeah, we have got description. So if we now move the state on, click save. In theory, our business rule runs, the REST message sends out. It'll be after I've just committed that. So let's give Jira a refresh. And he says, wonderful. We've now got our story. Unable to access the folder. Let's just open it. That's one of my pet hates, is when the screen jumps and you've already clicked on something and you end up clicking on something else. Okay, here we go. Unable to access shared folder, please provide access. Right, okay, so we've now, this has come from ServiceNow, this has come from our business rule. Okay, so now we've got that far, let's take it a step even further and say, well, when we've created our story in Jira, now we need to populate these fields here, correlation display and correlation ID. So let's go back over to our business rule. Okay, let's find it. What do we call it? We call it Jira, but let's look for the last Jira demo. Okay, so now what we need to do is we can, after here, we need to put in some logic. Let's just do that. Now what we need to do is put in some logic that says, if we get a response, so if we get a successful response, so perhaps if we get HTTP status equals 201. I can't spell. So now if we get a success, so how do I know that was 201? Well, you remember if you rewind the video, when we tested it, the response we got back was 201, which means we've created something, right? So if we get back a 201, now what we want to do is pass the body. So the body that we're getting back, or the response we're getting back from Jira, is also in a JSON payload. So we want to pass that, and then we want to take out an element, or take out two elements. Okay, so we could do something like this. So we would go var body, I don't know, JSON pass. So now we're passing the response body. Okay, so we can pass the body that we get back, and now we need to know what keys to take out of that body. Okay, so I'm going to slightly cheat. Well, I'm not really. I'm going to tell you the body looks like this. Let's put it down here, right? Okay, that's our body. So let's just comment that out. That's the structure. That's the object structure that we're getting back from Jira. Okay, so we know we need the ID and we need the key. Okay, so we can JSON pass. Now what we can do is say current dot what was it? Correlation ID, correlation display equals body dot key, and current dot correlation. I love this when it or it auto comes up for you. Correlation ID equals body dot ID. Okay, put in our semicolons. So hopefully that made, let's make it neater. So hopefully that made sense. So we're getting the body back, which is this structure down here. And we're now saying the correlation ID on our incident record is equal to the body we've got back dot key. So the key attribute on that body. The correlation ID in our incident is equal to the ID record or ID attribute we've got on the body that's come back. Okay, hopefully that made sense. So now what we can do is save this, and we'll pick another incident and give it a whirl. If I can spell incident, or if ServiceNow can keep up. If anyone's got any tips on how to turbocharge a PDI, give me a shout. Here we go. So let's pick another one. Let's go for, what's this? Assessment ATF assessor. So now if we just change the state again, our business rule is just based on update, and it's an after remember. So it may take a few seconds to come back. So we're going to go to Jira, create the record, come back, and then populate these two. So let's, while we're here, let's go to Jira, follow the journey. So we'll make sure we've got something created. And we have our ATF assessor. And we'll go back to ServiceNow and we'll give it a reload, just in case. And there's nothing there. Okay. Why is there nothing there? Okay. Anyone that spotted why there's nothing there, comments below. I don't mind. You can mock me for this one. But if we go back to our business rule, I made this an after business rule. And there's one thing I didn't do. Let me just check. Let me check. Yeah, right. Okay, I didn't. So this is an after business rule that we created. It is. We didn't update the record again. So we're running it after it's been committed. We've got to commit it. So current update. Here we go. Okay. There we go. So we'll just stay on this record, and I'll just change the, oh, we haven't got a description. So we'll call it 121. And I'll give this, that, and I'll put in description. Just so we know it's different. I don't need to change the state, but I will. Okay. Right, now we've done that to the business rule. That should, there we go. Okay, how fast was that actually? So that's a really quick response. So we've gone out to Jira, we've come back, we've now got the correlation ID over here, and we've got the correlation display. We could take a step even further and take that URL and put that somewhere in ServiceNow, so you can click on a link and go direct out to Jira, but we're not going to do it for the purpose of this. Okay, so let's just quickly recap where we are and where the journey we've been on today. So our scenario was we have an incident in ServiceNow and we wanted to create something in Jira. In this case, it's a story we're creating in Jira. So we've used a on-after business rule to trigger a REST message out from ServiceNow, not using Flow Designer or Integration Hub, but trigger our REST message out of ServiceNow to land in Jira. Jira sends us back a response and we're populating the correlation display and correlation ID. We're doing that via a script from the script preview that we got from our REST message. Okay, very handy tool. The next step I would suggest on this is that we should look at that logic in the business rule and see how we can move that into a script include. So I'm just going to quickly do that and you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to do this quite quickly, but we're going to head over to script includes. I'm just going to create one. I'm going to call it Jira test. No, we're not. We're just going to call it Jira. We'll call it Jira Integration. Okay. And then what we need to do is create a function. We'll call it create issue. So this demo or this video isn't about how well I can type. No, this isn't about how to create functions, how to create a script include. This is what I just want to show you is that, yeah, I've done this in a business rule, but what we might want to do is take this logic out of here and add it inside the script include. We can just simply do that. In fact, that's all we're going to do quick, just to make it really quick and easy. We're going to put in our parameters of short description and description, and we're going to, for the sake of argument or the sake of speed, I'm just going to put those back in there. There is method to my madness. So we're going to make description equal to description. So we're going to make what we're passing into the body of the REST message equal to that of the parameters I'm passing in. So what do I mean by that? Is desk is equal to desk there, short description is equal to short description there, and we're going to pass those in. How are we going to do that? We need to grab the script include. We're going to declare our script include here. We're going to need our function name. Okay, create issue. We're going to pass in our values. So where was it? Short description was first, then description. So short description there, and description is here. Now I can get rid of those. So I only copied those from the script include just so I didn't have to retype it and make you watch me fail miserably again. Okay, the next bit we need to do is our update bits. So now we can copy that out. Let's move that there. And we're going to say if we get a return. And I'll explain this briefly in a second, so just bear with me. Like that. Ooh, yeah, in fact, we'll call this body. We'll make it easier. Okay. And then we go return. Return that. I'll copy that out. And I'll put that here. Okay, we will call that SI. You're seeing refactoring live. Right, here we go. Okay. Okay, right, let's have a quick look at what we've just done. And I'll just tidy this up quickly. Okay, and I'll save it. Let's save everything first. Okay, so what we've just done is we've taken the function that we had in our business rule, and we've moved that into a script include. So from our business rule, what we're doing, we're calling that new script include we've created. We're calling the function. We're passing in two parameters: short description and the description. This is the function. He says this is the function here. Okay, so we're catching the short description we're passing in, and now we're doing all the stuff we were doing before. The only difference here is that we're passing the response body, everything, back to the business rule. Then once we've got something, so GS not nil, this is just essentially saying, have we got something back from the script include? Yes, we have. We're going to pass it like we were before, and we're doing everything we were before. Okay. So why would you do that? So the reason I would do that is because you could then have your script include with all the different functions all in one place. You could then start using that from other process areas. So not just incident. You could do it from incident task. You could do it from changes. You could do it from problems, perhaps. That might be a good one. If you were to use Agile or SDLC or anything else in ServiceNow, you could link up things like defects or features or stories from ServiceNow to Jira, okay? And then it becomes contained within one place, so the script include, and it's all, it's a lot more scalable. Now, again, what we perhaps should have done right at the start is maybe create our own application and contained it in there, and that becomes even more contained within its own scope. Okay, but what I wanted to show you is just that you can do this. Let's not be limited to, I've seen a video and we can do it in a business rule and that's all I'm going to do. Start thinking outside the box. Start thinking about how things are more manageable, how things are more scalable, and this is just one of the ways that we can do it. Okay, so I hope you found today useful. I know we've been on a whistle-stop tour. There's been lots of waffling. Maybe even a few things have gone wrong. But I hope you found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, add some comments in. Share the channel with your ServiceNow buddies. Help us grow. It all really helps out. Until next time, happy coding or coding, not low coding. Happy coding, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.